Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome back to our summer campaign of Arkham Horror, the card game. First of all, before I get into today's scenario, I'd like to apologize in case there's a little extra noise. I do have the air conditioner going. As of filming, it is 88 degrees outside, and yeah, I tend to like staying cool if I can. But anyway, with that out of the way, this summer we're taking on the Circle and Done campaign. Last week we played through the prologue scenario, and then we met Agnes and Carolyn, Carolyn, to get them ready for this campaign. This week, they're up for the first scenario of the campaign, the Witching Hour. Let's go ahead and set the scene for the campaign.
Scenario 1, the Witching Hour. Intro 1. It is a breezy November evening in Arkham, the perfect night for a walk through Independence Square, or so you had thought, up until the moment Anna Caslow offered to tell you your fortune. You agreed, though you would soon come to regret this decision. For each of the cards the Romani soothsayer draws from her deck, she weaves a tale of despair and misfortune. Judgment, temperance, justice, the hermit, the hanged man, the hierophant, the lovers, the chariot, the wheel of fortune. To complete her tale, Anna draws the top card and lays it in the center of the formation. Dominating the old, worn card is the ominous image of a towering construct of black onyx. A hellish storm rages over the tower, lightning coursing through the dark clouds. It reads, The Tower, 16. Even if the rest of the reading had gone swimmingly, the sight of the center card would have sent a shiver down your spine. As it stands now, it feels more like the closing of a casket over your body. You did tell me to give it to you straight, the soothsayer says. She sits cross-legged in front of you, wearing a stony, grim expression. From her unwavering gaze and her cold eyes, you can tell Anna derives no satisfaction from this reading. Simple misfortune is the least of your concerns, she explains. This is a matter of life and death. She motions to the cards surrounding the tower, each of them laid in the reverse position, and stares at them intently. Arrayed against you is everything that you cannot see. You alone stand in their way, she says enigmatically. The lead investigator must decide. Choose one. What can I do to avoid this fate? Proceed to intro 2. This is bullshit. Skip to intro 3.
Alright, so, matter of life and death. Given that this is Arkham, I'm inclined to believe that. So, we have to decide, what can we do to avoid this fate, or this is bullshit? What can we do to avoid this fate?
Intro 2. The woman nods and draws the top card of the deck with a steady hand, revealing it to you without looking at it herself. Depicted on the card is a single wooden wand, surrounded by a pattern of broken stained glass. It reads, Ace of Rods. You must be ready to act, she advises, without hesitation, without regret. When the opportunity arises, you must set into motion the events that will change this fate. In your campaign log, record that you have accepted your fate. Add 2 rune tokens to the chaos bag for the remainder of the campaign. Before drawing his or her hand for this scenario, the lead investigator searches the collection for 1 copy of the Tower of 16 and 1 copy of Ace of Rods and adds each of them to his or her deck if able. The lead investigator have earned these cards. They do not count toward his or her deck size. If one or both of these cards are not available, skip this step. Skip to intro 4.
Okay, first of all, there are the 2 runes that are going in the chaos bag. Give that a good mix-up. And now let's take a look at the 2 cards that Agnes is going to add to her deck, because we're naming her lead investigator for this scenario. So first up, Ace of Rods. It's a neutral card, 3 cost to play. Ace of Rods, the Fateful Step. As a fast action, during your turn, remove Ace of Rods from the game. You may take an additional action this turn, during which you get +2 to each of your skills. And as a fast, when the game begins, or a reaction, when the game begins, if Ace of Rods is in your opening hand, put it into play. So we'll get that sleeved up. And we'll also take the Tower 16. The Tower 16, circumstances beyond your control. 4 costs to play. It is a basic weakness, so it could have come up when I was doing deck creation. In this case it didn't, but the weakness that came up could be just as bad. But here's our weakness. It takes up the tarot slot, which is what the card with the star around it indicates. You can't commit cards to skill tests while the Tower 16 is in your opening hand. If the Tower 16 is drawn in your opening hand during setup, before or after taking a mulligan, you can't replace it. It must stay in your opening hand. So that has potential to be a problem. We'll give Agnes's deck a good shuffle. Do this on camera. Alright. Give that a cut. And then while intro 4 is playing, I'll get opening hands ready.
Intro 4. Silence hangs in the air as you peer into the Tower card. The world around you dissolves into emptiness as your eyes fixate on the Onyx Tower. Rolling thunder echoes in the distance. Do you understand now? Anna asks. There is no other sign of the soothsayer, only her strained voice. A bolt of lightning streaks across the sky. Do you see your fate before you, as I do? Another resounding crack of thunder, and you are suddenly awake. Icy rain pelts your body, soaking you through to the bone. You are lying in the mud beside a wooden trail, and there is no other soul in sight.
No. Alright, so Agnes and Carolyn are going to disappear, but they won't be disappearing for too long. We'll move over. I'll finish getting Carolyn's opening hand ready, then we'll move back up top to go through opening hand, act, and agenda. We're back up top to go through opening hands, act, and agenda. So first up, as the lead investigator, we'll take a look at Agnes's hand first. First up, she's got a copy of Read the Signs. 2 costs to play, will and lore on commit. Investigate, add your will value to your skill value for this investigation. You may ignore any effect or keyword on your location which would trigger during this investigation. If you succeed, discover 1 additional clue at your location. I'll go through flavor text when I actually play it. Clairvoyance uses 3 charges. As an action, spend 1 charge, investigate. Investigate using will instead of lore. If you succeed, discover 1 additional clue at this location. If you reveal a good symbol, an elder sign +1 or 0 during this investigation, take 1 horror, and it takes up the arcane slot. Spectral Razor, 2 costs to play, will and combat on commit. Spell, fight. Add your will value to your skill value for this attack. Immediately before this attack, you may engage the attacked enemy. This attack deals +1 damage, +2 instead if the enemy is non-elite. Drawn to the Flame, 0 cost to play, will and lore on commit. Draw the top card of the encounter deck, then discover 2 clues at your location. And finally, Ward of Protection, 1 cost to play, wild card on commit. Fast, play when you draw a non-encounter treachery card. Cancel it when you draw a non-weakness treachery card. Cancel that card's revelation effect. Then take 1 horror. Now let's take a look at Carolyn's opening hand. Carolyn starts off with a copy of Liquid Courage. It's a rogue card, but she can take it because of the heal horror clause in here. 1 cost to play, will on commit. Uses 4 supplies. As an action, spend 1 supply, choose an investigator at your location to heal 1 horror, then that investigator tests will 2. If the test succeeds, he or she heals 1 additional horror. If the test fails, he or she discards 1 card at random from his or her hand. We have a copy of Dr. Milan Christopher. Seeker card, 4 costs to play, 4 resources to play, lore icon on commit. You get +1 lore. After you successfully investigate, gain 1 resource. There is another class of cards called taboo cards that have been modified because they're so powerful. Milan is on that list, but I don't play with the taboo list. So, just to clarify that. 2 copies of Eureka. It's a skill, will, lore, and agility on commit. If the skill test is successful, the investigator performing this test searches the top 3 cards of his or her deck for a card, draws it, and shuffles. And we have 2 of those. And finally, we have Clarity of Mind. Uses 3 charges. As an action, spend 1 charge, heal 1 horror from an investigator at your location. I do want to talk a little bit about Carolyn's deck building. I don't think I mentioned this during the intro video, but we saw it with a Liquid Courage that because it heals horror, Carolyn can take it. With 2 of her deck building restrictions, the up to 15 level 0 to 1 Mystic and or Seeker cards, and then cards that heal horror 0 to 5, if they have the heal horror clause on them, they'll interact with that restriction rather than the 0 to 1 Mystic cards, just to kind of clarify how that works. But that will do it for opening hands. Let's take a look at our act and agenda, and we'll start off with the agenda. Agenda 1A, Temperance 14. Remain calm and you may peer into an uncertain future. The silence of the universe has tilted, or the balance of the universe has tilted. You are the fulcrum. Be patient and all will be revealed. Need 8 doom to advance that. And then our first act. Act 1A, Lost in the Woods. You have awakened alone deep in the woods south of Arkham. The mysterious soothsayer is nowhere to be seen. You rise up from the muddy trail and try to find your bearings. An oppressive weight hangs in the air. Locations in front of you are connected to one another. You cannot enter locations in front of other investigators. Objective. At the end of the round, investigators may spend the requisite number of clues as a group to advance, and we need 4 clues. So what is it talking about locations in front of you, and you can't enter locations in front of other investigators? The answer to that will take us over to the map. So as we see, Agnes and Carolyn have been split up. Carolyn is starting over here at this witch-haunted woods. Agnes is over here. I'll go through their locations in a minute. But I do want to explain the in front of investigators. So I had extras of their cards from the card game. So I've got Carolyn over here. These 2 locations are what she can access. And then I've got Agnes over here. These 2 are the locations she can access. But I've borrowed a key from the Innsmouth conspiracy campaign to indicate that they are not connected to each other at this point. They may connect later, but I won't get into that right now. But anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at our locations. So Carolyn starts at this witch-haunted woods. We'll take a look at the flavor text on one and then the revealed side on both. On both the locations they're starting at. The flavor text on the other side will all be the same, or on this side. Witch-haunted woods. The frigid wind howls around you as you venture deeper into the haunted woods beyond Arkham. And then Carolyn starts off with a shroud of 1, 4 clues. Forced. When the last clue is discovered from this location, spawn the topmost enemy in the encountered discard pile at this location. If there are no enemies in the discard pile, discard cards from the top of the encounter deck until an enemy is discarded and spawn that enemy instead. Victory 1. We'll get our 4 clues for that. 2. There we are. Okay. Now let's go take a look at what Agnes is starting with. Agnes is starting with Shroud of 3, 2 clues. The Tainted Well. Carolyn's subtitle is Child's Treehouse. Investigators at other witch-haunted woods locations can commit 1 card to each skill test performed at this location, and vice versa. And we have 2 clues for that, because I try not to send it flying. We'll grab the 2 clues there. That will do it for initial scenario setup. Our first investigator will be... who will it be? I think it'll be Carolyn, and we'll stay right here. We're over here zoomed in on Carolyn. Most of her turn is going to be over here, but her first action could have taken us back to her play area, where I'm going to spend 4 resources, put Dr. Milan Christopher into play. So now Carolyn has +1 lore, and when she successfully investigates, she gains a resource. 1 health and 2 sanity on Silk for Milan. While I truly pray that this nightmare is just a singular abomination, I must admit that I am exhilarated by the possibility that this is but one specimen of a new genus. So we'll put that into play. Then for action 2, Carolyn will investigate, and up 4 should be way more than plenty. I don't particularly need to send her into her deck yet. the elder sign. So Carolyn's elder sign is +1. You may heal 1 horror from an investigator or ally asset at your location. Everything's at full strength right now, so no need to do that. But Carolyn will get a clue out of that, and a resource from Milan. Action 3 will be to run that back, up 4. +1 gets her another clue and another resource. So Carolyn has almost paid back what she paid to play Milan. But that will do it for Carolyn. Now let's move over to Agnes. Here we are with Agnes. Action 1. I think we're going to go ahead and we'll spend 2 resources. Get that out of the way. To play Read the Signs. So again, we can investigate, adding her will value to her skill value for this investigation, and ignore any keyword or effect that would trigger during this investigation. Discover 1 additional clue. A grisly future is laid before you. Do you turn away, or do you embrace it? So we look at her will. Her lore's 2, but she gets to add 5 to that, so she's at 7. She's up 4. And we pull the +1 again, so we get both clues off the location. And that's an end of the round thing, so... Okay. So that was action 1. Action 2, Agnes will move over to this witch-hunted woods. See what's on the back of this one. Shroud of 2 clues. You cannot investigate this location while you have between 3 and 10 resources. As a fast action, choose an investigator to different witch-haunted woods. Move up to 3 of your resources to that investigator's resource pool, or vice versa. Group limit once per round. So we'll get the 2 clues for that. And that's also victory 1. Fortunately for us, we have a way we can discover clues without needing to investigate. And I think we're going to use it. I think we're going to use Drawn to the Flame for her 3rd and final action. So draw the top card of the encounter deck, then discover 2 clues at your location. Actually, let me zoom in here. There we go. We live on a placid island of ignorance in the midst of black seas of infinity, and it was not meant that we should voyage far. H.P. Lovecraft, The Call of Cthulhu. Alright, so we get the top card of the encounter deck. Agnes draws. A Coven Initiate. Revelation. It's 2s all across the board. Revelation, discard the top 2 cards of the encounter deck. If this effect causes the encounter deck to run out of cards, which it won't, draw this topmost hex in the encounter discard pile. The hidden cults to which these witches belonged often guarded and handed down surprising secrets from elder forgotten aeons. H.P. Lovecraft, The Dreams in the Witch House. So Agnes has made a friend, and we discard 2 cards from the top of the encounter deck. First card we nail is Diabolic Voices. That could be a problem if it pops up later. And Frozen in Fear. This one I don't mind seeing go. And then we get the 2 clues from there. And that was all 3 of Agnes's actions. So in the enemy phase, Agnes does take 1 horror, as I forgot to reset everything. So there's the 1 horror that Agnes takes. Put that on her dashboard. And then that will do it for the enemy phase. So now we'll get everything reset. And we will move back up top for the upkeep phase. We're back up top for the upkeep phase. Each of our ladies will gain 1 resource and go up to 4. Carolyn, Agnes. Agnes will draw. The Voice of Ra. Gain a resource, reveal 3 random tokens from the Chaos Bag. For each bad symbol, gain an additional 2 resources. Then Carolyn draws. Logical reasoning. Play only if you have at least 1 clue. Choose an investigator at your location. That investigator either heals 2 horror or discards a terror card from his or her threat area. Okay, so now we are at end of round. Question is, do we advance now? Because Act 1A is end of the round. So I think we do, to try to keep things moving somewhat along. Alright, so we'll go ahead and advance. Deeper into the woods. As the rain lets up, a dense fog rolls in throughout the area. Soon all of the woods have vanished within the hazy fog. You call out for your companions, but none answer. You grope blindly in the haze, searching for something, anything to which you can cling. Each investigator must randomly choose one of the set-aside Arkham Woods locations, put it into play in front of him or her, and immediately move to that location. Can't be cancelled. Alright, so let's grab the Arkham Woods locations. I'll put those down, I'll need those in a minute as well. Alright, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Alright. This looks like a job for the Dice Tower. Alright, so we're going to roll for both of them at the same time. Carolyn's going to be a blue die, Agnes is going to be a red die. I'm going to roll until I get 2 different results, because I can't send them to the same Arkham Woods location. As I roll 2 6s. Why can't I roll that good when I'm playing some of the other games in the Arkham files? That'll work. Agnes is going to location 5. Carolyn is going to location 2. So we'll get... So that will go in front of Agnes. That will go in front of location 2 will go in front of Carolyn. And immediately move to it. Yep, okay. So I'll move over to the map in a minute with that. Each investigator spawns a set-aside goat spawn at his or her location. If there are 4 investigators in the game, the lead investigator, we won't bother ourselves with that. Each investigator then tests Will or Agility 3. Each investigator who succeeds exhausts that enemy and disengages from it. So we're going to have to make a couple of tests here. Now that that's done its job, we can get the Dice Tower and the Dice Cup out of shot. Now, we have 2 goat spawns. We'll put 1 at each location. And when we move over to the map, we'll reveal everything. So I'll do that once we finish up these tests. So Agnes, actually I can bring these off as well. Agnes is up 2 on her will test. Is there anything I want to commit? There is not. So up 2. The rune. What is the rune? The rune is -1. If you fail, after this test resolves, draw the bottommost treachery in the encounter discard pile. Fortunately for us, we do not fail. So Agnes gets to exhaust her goat spawn. Sorry, I jarred the camera there. Carolyn also is going to take a will test. She's even So I'm going to use a copy of Logical Reasoning to bring her up 2. And I'm going to use a copy of Eureka to bring her up 3. I'm going to get this last Arkham Woods location out of the way. So up 3. A 0. So Carolyn exhausts her goat spawn as well. And then Eureka lets us search the top 3 cards of her deck for anything we want. So top 3, first card up. Scene of the crime. This could be tempting. Play only as your first action. Discover 1 clue at your location, 2 instead if there's an enemy at that location. Ooh, that might be tempting. This action does not provoke attacks of opportunity. Second card up. Deduction. This could also be tempting. If this skill test is successful while investigating a location, discover 1 additional clue at that location. I know lore on commit. The scene of the crime has combat and a lore on commit. And Book of Psalms. 3 really tempting options. Will icon on commit, 3 cost to play. Uses 4 secrets. Spend 1 secret, heal 1 horror from an investigator at your location, add 2 blessed tokens to the chaos bag. All really tempting ideas. I think we're gonna take... I think we are gonna take Scene of the Crime, though. 2 guaranteed clues seems very good. And right now the way... Well, I'm not gonna say anything about that, so... Anyway. Just a quick shuffle. And a cut. And then let's go through our new act. Act 2A, Witch Hauntings. Whatever arcane rites are being practiced in these woods, they are attracting the attention of all manner of vile beasts, the likes of which you have never seen. Is this what the soothsayer was trying to warn you about? Locations in front of you are connected to one another. You can't enter locations in front of other investigators. Objective. If a single investigator spends the requisite number of clues, advance. And we need 2 clues and... Actually, I forgot to spend our aforementioned 4 clues for the first act, so... Good thing I looked at that. There are 4 clues from Agnes, which still leaves Carolyn with 2, so... That should be helpful. Now, we've got all that resolved. Now let's move over to the map. Alright, so we've got our 2 ladies now at their new Arkham Woods locations. Let's take a look at Carolyn's location first. Arkham Woods. Growing up, you were always warned to stay out of the woods at night. Now you know why. And on the revealed side, Arkham Woods Unhallowed Ground. Shroud of 4, 2 clues. Forced, after you enter this location, test Will 4. If you fail, take 1 damage and 1 horror. This clearing has been the site of dark rites since colonists first came to the area over 2 centuries ago. Good to know. And then Agnes, her Arkham Woods location. There we go. Oh boy. Okay, Tangled Thicket, Shroud of 2, 2 clues. This location is investigated using combat instead of the skill indicated by the investigation attempt. Flavor text. An old horse trail in colonial days, this overgrown path hasn't been used in over a decade. Okay, that's not going to be fun, but anyway. That will do it for the map. Now let's move back up top, and we'll go into the Mythos phase. We're back up top for the Mythos phase. Just before we get into the first Mythos phase of the game, believe it or not, I did put the clues out on the Arkham Woods locations. So So that's all been handled now. So Doom is going up on the agenda. We're going up to 1 Doom. Agnes will draw. Dissonant Voices. Can't play assets or events. At the end of the round, discard Dissonant Voices. That's unfortunate. Actually, you know what? This might actually be... Yeah, I think this is going to be worth a Ward of Protection. There's more dangerous stuff coming, I'm sure, but we are going to go ahead and ward that. Just because I need to be able to do... I have something I need to be able to do this turn. I need to be able to kill that Initiate, and the only thing I've got in hand is an event to do it with. Carolyn will draw. Dissonant Voices. So Carolyn's not going to be playing any assets or events either. That's unfortunate, but we might be able to get around that. Hopefully we will anyway. But that will do it for the Mythos phase. Now we're back into the investigation phase. Our first investigator will be Agnes, and we'll drop down to her play area. We're just about ready for the action phase, but before we get into that, we do have an open player window which Carolyn is going to use to spend the last 2 clues she's got to advance the act again. So let's take a look at Act 2. Let's advance the act to Act 2B. Act 2B, Strange Melodies. As you search the woods for answers, or a path that will lead you back home, you find yourself drawn off the beaten trail by a mesmerizing melody of silvery pipes. Deeper into the damp, hazy woodland you delve, searching for the source of the strange music. Finally, you come upon a foggy clearing, at the center of which lies a half-rotted tree stump. An old but delicately carved wooden flute lies atop the stump, silently beseeching you to approach. The moment you touch the instrument, the piping melody that you heard is cut short, and the dense fog around you disperses with a sudden breeze. For the remainder of the scenario, investigators may now enter locations in front of other investigators. So I will swap out the key that I've got here with the connector arrow. And that's all good to go. Now, get my phone out of the way. Action 1 will be the aforementioned event to try to kill this Coven Initiate. We're going to use Spectral Razor to try to kill it, so fight, add your will value to your skill value for this attack. Immediately before this attack, you may engage the attacked enemy, which we already are. This attack deals +1 damage, +2 instead if the enemy is non-elite. So we are at... So a combat of 2, +5 will is 7. To 2, we are up 5. -2, so Coven Initiate is pieced out. That goes to the discard pile. And Action 2 will take us over to the map. Action 2 is going to see Agnes get moving a little bit. So Action 2, we're going to bring her down to the abandoned mine, which we cleared the clues off of earlier. Plus, I'm not discovering clues at a location I'm investigating using combat in a million years. Action 3, I'll bring her over to the child's treehouse as well. So that will do it for Agnes. As long as we're over here at the map, we're going to take Carolyn's turn as well. So Carolyn is going to... We're going to investigate... Actually, no, we're not going to investigate because that doesn't have victory. Well, we do need 6 clues, so... Action 1, I think we will go ahead and move down to this Witch-Haunted Woods location. Let's see what's on the back of here. Shroud of 2, 2 clues. You can investigate this location while you have between 3 and 5 cards in hand. As a fast action, you choose and discard 1 card from your hand. Then an investigator at a different Witch-Haunted Woods location draws 1 card, or vice versa. Limit once per round. The ghastly likeness of tortured figures writhe within its bark. Gnarled and emaciated, it is agonizing to look upon. Victory 1. That's unfortunate that we can't investigate there while we have 3 and 5 cards in hand. Action 2, I'll move her over to the child's treehouse. Action 3, we'll investigate, and we are up 4. And I will get the 2 clues for that. Elder Sign, which, as we saw earlier, +1, you may heal 1 horror or from an investigator or ally asset at your location. Fortunately, Carolyn happened to run into her bestie right here. She ran into Agnes. So we do get a clue, and Agnes gets to heal a horror, and if we recall Carolyn's special ability, after one of your card effects either heals horror from an investigator or ally asset, the healed card's controller gains 1 resource. And Carolyn's investigator card effect counts for that. So Agnes will gain 1 resource and go up to 2. And then that will do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, nothing happens, because our goat spawns are exhausted. But they are going to wake up, so that'll be part of setting up for the upkeep phase. We'll start into that. And then we'll move back up top for set upkeep phase. We're back up top for the upkeep phase. Just before we jump into that, Carolyn didn't gain her resource from Milan, so we'll put her up to 5. Now we're ready for the upkeep phase, which 1 resource puts Carolyn up to 6. And another resource puts Agnes up to 3. Agnes draws. Oh geez, Dread Curse. Revelation, add 5 curse tokens to the Chaos Bag. We all have wings, but they have not been of any avail to us, and if we could tear them off, we would do so. Franz Kafka, the Blue Octavo Notebooks. I haven't read Kafka in so long, at least since my school days, but anyway. So that's a rather unfortunate twist of events. Let's see here. 1, 2, I need 1 more. So there are 5 curse tokens. This is the first time on the channel we're seeing bless or curse tokens. So let me talk about those very quickly. So bless tokens are tokens that these are additional tokens that we put in the chaos bag that you can pull out as part of a skill test. If you pull a bless out, it's a +2, but you have to reveal another token. Similarly, the curse token is a -2, and you have to keep pulling tokens out. So we've got 5 more -2s going in the bag from curses. We'll give that a good mix-up. Hopefully we get a rather innocuous test to unscrew the bag. Carolyn will draw. Fingerprint Kit. This I don't mind seeing. It's basically deduction with. It's basically a 3-charge deduction with on a hand slot. So end of the round, that goes away. Dissonant Voices is gone. Mythos phase. Doom on the agenda goes up to 2. Agnes draws. Evil Past. Revelation. Put Evil Past into your threat area if there is no copy of it in your threat area. If there is, discard Evil Past and it gains Surge instead. Forced. When the encounter deck runs out of cards, take 2 horror and test Will 3. If you succeed, discard Evil Past. So that's in Agnes's threat area. Now we'll get those Bless and Curse out of the way. Carolyn draws. Ancient Evils. Put Revelation, place 1 Doom on the current agenda. This effect can cause the current agenda to advance. Dark forces stir against you. If you do not act quickly, a sinister plot will be fulfilled. Alright, so we put another Doom up, which brings Doom up to 3. And that will do it for the Mythos phase. We have the investigation phase next, and our first investigator will be Carolyn, and we'll head over to the map. We're over here with Carolyn. For action 1, Carolyn's going to move back over to the lonely tree. Then she's going to use the fast action to draw a card. Oh, wait a minute. Let me look at this again. You choose and discard one card from your hand. Then an investigator at a different witch-haunted woods location draws one card, or vice versa. So, Carolyn is going to draw a card from that. Oh, right. And that's limit once per round. Unfortunately, Agnes is going to lose her clairvoyance. But Carolyn's also going to gain something problematic as well. She's going to pick up her copy of Rational Thought. Put Rational Thought into Revelation. Put Rational Thought into play in your threat area with 4 horror on it. Grab the 4 horror here. Horror on Rational Thought may be healed as if it were on Carolyn. If there's no horror on Rational Thought, discard it. You can't heal horror from cards other than Rational Thought, and I can't gain resources from Carolyn's reaction ability. That's unfortunate. For action 2, we are going to play... We're actually going to draw a card. Hopefully we draw something a little better here. Deduction. That's actually a sight for sore eyes. So, 1 lore on commit. If the skill test is successful while investigating a location, discover 1 additional clue at that location. And action 3 is going to be to draw a... Actually, we're going to pay 2 resources and play Clarity of Mind for action 3. Uses 3 charges. As an action, spend a charge. Heal 1 horror from an investigator at your location. From the unreal, lead me to the real. From the darkness, lead me to the light. From the dead, lead me to the immortal. So we'll get our charges out for that. And then those will go on Clarity of Mind. That will do it for Carolyn. Agnes, for her first action, she'll draw a card. Actually, for her first action, we're going to play Voice of Ra. Gain 1 resource, then reveal 3 random tokens from the bag. For each bad symbol revealed, gain an additional 2. So she's going to go up to 4. And then we're going to pull 3 tokens out of here. I think we've got our 3 right there. Yep. Alright. So first up we have... So these are our 3. -3, Curse, and Rune. So we do gain 2 resources. Put her up to 6. Action 2 is going to be to draw a card. So she draws... Shriveling. I was hoping to see this. And then action 3 will be to play aforementioned Shriveling. Uses 4 charges. As an action, spend 1 charge, fight. This attack uses will instead of combat and deals +1 damage. If a bad symbol is revealed during this attack, take 1 horror. So we'll get our 4 charges for that. And those will go on Shriveling. And that will do it for Agnes, because that was her last action. On the enemy phase, both of our goat spawns move. They both... yeah, they can actually both get to... Okay, wait a minute. Locations in front of you are connected to one another. So... Actually, we... Yep, they both have the symbol on there. So they both can get to Agnes. And I think they will, so she'll take 2 damage off of that. So there's her 2 damage. And then that will do it for the enemy phase. So we'll reset everything. And move back up top for the upkeep phase. We're back up top for the Mythos phase. Carolyn will gain 1 resource, go to 5. Agnes will also gain 1 and go to 4. Then Agnes draws. Arcane Studies, not something I want to see. A skill dump for will and lore. Carolyn draws. Another scene of the crime. Play only as your first action. Discover 1 clue at your location, 2 instead if there's an enemy there. This action doesn't provoke attacks of opportunity. Alright, so fortunately that does fill her grip. But Mythos time. Doom goes up to 4 on the agenda. Then Agnes draws. Bedeviled. Oh, give me a break. Put Bedeviled into play in your threat area. You can't trigger action abilities on cards you control. As an action, test Will 3. If you succeed, discard Bedeviled. If there is an exhausted witch enemy at your location, this test is automatically successful. Oh, that's unfortunate. And Carolyn will draw. Ancient Evils. So we put another Doom up on the agenda, go up to 5. Anyway, that will do it for the action, for the Mythos phase. Now we're ready for the investigation phase. First up will be Carolyn, and her turn will take us over to the map. Okay, we're starting the turn with Carolyn. Action 1 is going to be to investigate. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 cards in hand, so we can investigate. I'm going to commit her copy of Deduction to get her up 5, 6, up 4, trying to get both of those clues. A 0 gets her both clues, which is amazing. Which makes me hope the turns are going to go a little bit like I want it to. Action 2, I'm going to move Carolyn over to the child's treehouse. And then action 3, she's actually going to engage one of the goat spawns off of her. Off of Agnes. Agnes is going to take an attack of opportunity because of her first action. This way she only takes 1 attack of opportunity instead of 2 from both goat spawns. In fact, we'll flip over her mini card and we'll get started with Agnes. So for Agnes's first action, we're going to try to get rid of Bedeviled. So that's a Will 3 test. Unfortunately, we're short on exhausted witch enemies. We're going to commit Arcane Studies to go up 4. Since I'm already at a Will 5. Actually, this is putting me up 3. Then Carolyn is going to give her Eureka to put Agnes up 4. So we're up 4, and Agnes gets to search the top 3 of her library if she passes. Curse, which means Agnes is only up 2, and we have to draw again. And we get Tentacle Touched. Fantastic. So Agnes also takes a damage from her attack of opportunity. The only bright spot in that is the curse token is now out of the bag. Oh, wonderful. That Dread Curse is really starting to cause us problems, Agnes. Alright, action 2 will be try to evade the goat spawn up 1. -1 evades it. Then action 3 will be to... Do I just try to get rid of that again up 2? No, I think I draw a card instead, get her into her library a little bit more. So we'll draw. Hypnotic Gaze. Fast, play when an enemy attacks an investigator at your location. Cancel the attack, then reveal a random token from the Chaos Bag. If it has a bad symbol, deal the attacking enemy's damage to itself. Alright, so enemy phase. Carolyn will take 1 damage from the goat spawn that's on her. Then we'll re-ready everything. And now we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. This will make friends with Agnes once again. We're back up top for the upkeep phase. Carolyn will gain 1 resource, go up to 6. Agnes will gain 1 resource, go up to 5. Carolyn will draw. Solemn Vow. Myriad Fast. Play Solemn Vow under the control of another investigator at your location. As a fast action, if the owner of Solemn Vow is at your location, exhaust it. Move 1 damage or horror from a card you control to a card that investigator controls. Agnes draws. Come on. There we are. Scrying Mirror, which is largely useless right now. Right. Doom on the agenda goes up to 6. Agnes draws. Diabolic Voices. Test Will 3. For each point you fail by, discard 1 random card from your hand. For each card you can't discard, take 1 or 1. This test gets +1 difficulty for each copy in the discard pile. The infernal wailing and cackling rattle endlessly throughout your mind. I think I see at least 1 other copy in the discard pile. Yep, so this is actually a Will 4 test. I don't have anything I can commit with Agnes, and Carolyn will actually commit her Solemn Vow to put Agnes up 3. -2, so that can get bent. Carolyn draws. Another copy of Diabolic Voices. Unfortunately, Carolyn is down 2. And there is Liquid Courage just to get her down 1, I guess? Yeah. Yeah, so we'll commit that. Down 1, and we'll hope we draw something. I hope we draw a boost. That is not a boost. So, unfortunately, oh, that hurts. The rest of Carolyn's hand goes away. That is very unfortunate. Fantastic. At least that's the last time that we'll see that for now, until the deck shuffles again. But that will do it for the Mythos phase. Investigation phase next. We'll start off with Agnes, and we'll move back down to her play area. Alright, for action 1, we're going to try to evade the goat spawn again. So we're up 1. And up 1's where we'll test. Rune is -1. If you fail after this test resolves, draw the bottommost treachery in the encounter discard pile. So fortunately we don't fail. That evades there. And for action 2, I'm going to try to get rid of Bedeviled again. We're up 2, trying to do that. Cut that. Skull is -1. For each point you fail by, discard the top card of the encounter deck. So we don't fail, which means Bedeviled is gone. Then action 3, we will hit the goat spawn on... actually, do we want to... We might want to move, actually. You know what? No, I've got a little bit of a plan here. So action 3, we're going to shriveling the goat spawn on Carolyn. We're up 2. Yeah, we're going to have to risk it. Up 2. Curse, which brings us to even. Rune, which is, oh boy, we just saw this, -1. If you fail after this test ends, draw the bottommost treachery in the discard pile. The only consolation I take from that is that another curse is out of the bag. So by failing, we hit Carolyn for 2 damage. And we have to draw the bottommost treachery in the discard pile, which is Diabolic Voices. Wonderful. Alright, so we are at will 3. Fortunately, we're up 2. Curse, which brings us to even. Another curse, which brings us down 2. -2. So that sets our effective skill value to 0, which means we fail. The only bright spot is there's 1 curse left in the bag. So both of these go away, and Agnes takes a horror. And that was all 3 of her actions. Alright, so that will bring us over to Carolyn, which will take us to her play area. Oh, and Agnes on Retaliate takes a damage. So here's Carolyn. Action 1, she's going to try to evade the goat spawn. Unfortunately, she's even trying to evade. +1 gets her away from it. So we'll evade that there. Action 2... Action 2 will draw her a card. She will draw... Deduction. With the skill test, we saw this before. And Action 3, she's going to... Well, Action 3 will move us over to the map. Carolyn's Action 3 will bring us up to the Arkham Woods Unhallowed Ground. After we enter, we have to test Will 4. If we fail, take 1 and 1. And we have no will to commit, so we are down 1. Skull is -1. For each point you fail by, discard the top card of the encounter deck. So we take 1 and 1. 1 damage and 1 horror. And we discard the top 2 cards of the encounter deck because we failed by 2. So first up we lose another Evil Pass, which I don't mind, and Rotting Remains, which I also don't mind. Alright, so that will do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, nothing happens because both of the goat spawns are exhausted, but they both wake up and make friends with Agnes. As we get ready to move into the upkeep phase, so I'll start resetting everything. All the action tokens are handled. Now we've got the minis, and now we'll move up top for the upkeep phase. We're back up top for the upkeep phase. Agnes gains a resource, goes up to 6. Carolyn gains a resource, goes up to 7. Carolyn draws another Solemn Vow, which we probably will have to use on a commit. Agnes draws Eldritch Inspiration. Fast, play when you would resolve an effect on a mystic card that triggers when a bad symbol is revealed. Either cancel that effect or resolve it an additional time. Which could be handy if we need to stop a shriveling from going off. Mythos Phase. Doom goes up to 7. Agnes draws. Frozen in Fear. Oh, fantastic. And we need to do a lot of fighting here. Revelation. Put Frozen in Fear into play in your threat area. The first time you perform one of the following actions, move, fight, or evade each round, it costs 1 additional action. At the end of your turn, test Will 3. If you succeed, discard Frozen in Fear. Not the time to be getting Frozen in Fear, Agnes. Carolyn draws. Coven Initiate. Revelation. Discard the top 2 cards of the encounter deck. If this effect causes the encounter deck to run out of cards, draw the topmost hex in the discard pile. The hidden cults to which these witches belonged often guarded and handed down surprising secrets from elder forgotten aeons. H.P. Lovecraft, The Dreams in the Witch House. So we do have to discard the top 2 cards of the encounter deck, which means we lose Racked, which I don't mind seeing go away, because that would give us -1 to each of your skills during the first skill test you perform each round. And Centuries of Secrets. Test Will 5. For each point you fail by, discard the top card of the encounter deck. If a Cursed Treachery is discarded by this effect, deal 1 direct damage to your investigator and each of your ally assets. I'll go through the flavor text when that actually comes up. But that will do it for the Mythos phase. Investigation phase time. Now we're gonna have to move down to Agnes to do some fighting. Alright, we're down here with Agnes. For 2 actions, she's going to have to use a charge of Shriveling on the goat spawn. So we are up to trying to do 2 damage. +1 does 2 damage. Then action 3, we're going to use another charge of Shriveling to try to finish it off. Still up 2. Rune is once again -1. After this, if you fail after this test resolves, draw the bottommost treachery in the discard pile. Fortunately, we didn't fail. We defeat one of the goat spawns, but Agnes still takes one horror from it. And then we need to test Frozen in Fear. Up to trying to get rid of it. +1 gets rid of it, thank God. Alright, so that will do it for Agnes. Now we're over to Carolyn, and her turn will take us down. I'll put these away. Her turn will take us down to her play area. Here's Carolyn. Fortunately, the Coven Initiate is not a hunter, so our first action is going to be to try to evade that. Do we have anything we can commit to get her above even? We do not, so even. Tentacle touched. Color me unsurprised. Action 2, we'll try that again. Still at even. Curse, which is probably a yeah right at this point. But at least that's the last one out of the bag. -1, so that resets it, or that sets our value to 0. Then I think for action 3, attack of opportunity be damned, we're going to take it to investigate. So we're at 5, and I'm going to commit deduction to get up to trying to get both clues. A 0 gets us both clues, fortunately. So, I'll get those clues in a minute when I reposition the camera. Anyway, that will do it for Carolyn. Enemy phase, Agnes takes a damage. And Carolyn will take a horror. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. I also did give Carolyn her resource from Milan because I'd forgotten. Anyway, Carolyn gains a resource, goes up to 9. Agnes gains a resource, goes up to 7. Carolyn draws. Fingerprint kit. Something we we might end up needing this, but we'll have to see. It's basically 3 charges of deduction. Agnes draws. Arcane Initiate, where have you been all game? I think we probably are going to take an attack of opportunity on her turn, but I gotta see what we're doing first. Anyway, Mythos phase, agenda advances, because we're at 8 Doom. The rite continues. The moon reaches the height of its arc in the night sky. The trees begin to shift and twist in the breeze, as though made of something other than solid matter. Dozens of birds suddenly scatter from every treetop. In the distance, you can hear a faint melody, the pitch bending in the wind. A cloaked figure emerges from the darkness beyond the brush, a vortex of magical energy coalescing at her feet. "Are you the ones who have been meddling with our works?" she wonders aloud, gazing at you suspiciously from underneath her thick hood. "It is no matter. You are not welcome here," she threatens. "Be gone, or face the consequences." Discard all but the last 5 cards from the encounter deck. The investigator with the most cards in his or her play area must draw the topmost witch in the discard pile. Most cards in the play area is actually Carolyn, so on the topmost witch. So we leave 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. And no witch in here, so we need to find the witch. It looks like the topmost witch is the Coven Initiate. So we have another one engaged with Carolyn, which discards the top 2 cards of the encounter deck, which means we lose Centuries of Secrets and another Coven Initiate. Okay. Agenda 2A. The night howls. As midnight draws nearer, the forest begins to take on another form. A canopy of darkness overtakes the stars. The wind picks up in intensity, its whistling echoing through the trees. A dangerous power gathers deep within the woods, drawing only the foul and the foolish. Forced, at the end of the round, place 1 doom on this agenda for each witch enemy at the witch's circle. Which fortunately is not in play yet, so we don't have to worry about that for the time being. Agnes draws. Time for Mythos cards. Agnes draws. Oh joy, Priestess of the Coven. Retaliate. Gets +1 fight and +1 evade for each witch enemy in the encounter discard pile to a maximum of 3 and 3. Forced. When the encounter deck runs out of cards, Priestess of the Coven readies and attacks each investigator at its location for 2 damage. Yikes. I can't have Agnes take an attack of opportunity now. Carolyn draws. Bedeviled, which means I can't trigger cards that have action abilities on them. So yeah, this just went sideways on us in a hurry. Yeah. So this is going to be a problem any way we slice it. So that brings us to the investigation phase. And I'm trying to think how we have a prayer in the world of surviving this scenario. We very well might not, actually, but getting a little ahead of myself. We got to go into the investigation phase, and we'll start with Carolyn at the map. All right, here's Carolyn up at the top in. Here's my laser pointer. Up top, up here in shot. Action 1. Unfortunately, I think action 1, I need to take an attack of opportunity to get down to Agnes. Carolyn can take 2 horror and attacks of opportunity, so she's going to move down to the witch-haunted woods. Action 2, I'm going to engage the Priestess of the Coven off of Agnes, which will trigger 2 more attacks of opportunity. And somehow I don't. I'll borrow one of Agnes's. She doesn't need it. So that puts her 1 sanity from defeated by sanity. And action 3 will try to evade the Priestess of the Coven. Unfortunately, we're at even. I'm just glad it doesn't have alert, and I don't think Agnes has anything she can test on this either. She can commit to this. So here's the bag. Even. -1 doesn't evade the Priestess of the Coven, so that's unfortunate. That's all 3 of Carolyn's actions. Agnes is also going to take an attack of opportunity for her first action, because her first action is going to be to spend 1 to play her Arcane Initiate. Forced. After it enters play, place 1 Doom on it. As a fast, exhaust Arcane Initiate, search the top 3 cards of your deck for a spell and draw it. Shuffle your deck. We'll put the Doom on there. And then as the fast, we'll go ahead and exhaust it. Search the top 3 for a spell. See what we find. First card up. Storm of Spirit. These next 2 cards need to be doozies, otherwise I'm probably just going to snap take Storm of Spirit, which I probably should do anyway. Fight. This attack uses will instead of combat. If you succeed instead of standard damage, this attack deals 2 damage to each enemy at your location. Any additional damage is dealt to the attacked enemy. If a bad symbol is revealed during this attack, deal 1 damage to each investigator at your location. Next up, we have Spectral Razor. Much as I'd love to take this too, I can only take 1. Like I said, I'm probably taking Storm of Spirits. And Heirloom of Hyperborea, which I couldn't take anyway, so I will take the Storm of Spirits. Then action 2 will be to play said Storm of Spirits, and I will aim at the Coven Initiate on Carolyn. Actually, I'll aim at the Coven Initiate. So that uses will instead of combat. We're at 5. I'm not going to take the damage because I can't afford. Because I'm probably going to have to try to take out the Priestess of the Coven instead of the Goat Spawn, which means Agnes is going to need to take another damage. But anyway, we are up 3. Skull is -1, so each investigator does take a damage, which is going to get Agnes defeated this turn by damage, unfortunately. So we'll discard the 2. So the 2 Coven Initiates are both dead. The Priestess of the Coven and the Goat Spawn both have 2 damage on them. That was action 2. Action 3 will Shriveling on the Priestess of the Coven. Unfortunately, there's really nothing I can do here because Retaliate. Basically, here's the situation we're in right now. If this test fails, the scenario is just over. That's how bad a situation we're in right now. So, we're up 3, trying to take out the Priestess of the Coven. Agnes is going to get defeated by damage, but I think I can deal with it. Actually, no, I can have the Arcane Initiate take it. So, up 3. +1 takes out the Priestess of the Coven. So at least Carolyn will survive. Alright, that will do it for the investigation phase. I'll move that to the discard pile. Enemy phase, the goat spawn attacks Agnes for 1 damage, which the Arcane Initiate will jump in front of. And then we will move, we'll re-ready everything. And then we'll move back up top for the action, or for the upkeep phase. Upkeep phase time. So Carolyn will gain 1 resource, go to 10. Agnes will gain a resource, go to 4. Carolyn will draw. Logical reasoning. We have plenty of clues, but I have to heal off of rational thought. Agnes draws. Ward of Protection. Fast, play when you draw a non-weakness treachery card, cancel that card's revelation effect, then take 1 horror. Alright, Mythos phase time. Doom goes on the agenda up to 1. Agnes draws. And now the encounter deck is out of cards, but I'm going to I'll deal with Evil Past when I get done with this. Ancient Evils, put another Doom up. Alright, so Evil Past goes off, which means Agnes takes 2 horror and tests Will 3. She's up 2 going into that test. So we are up 2. -1 gets rid of Evil Past, so that is a sight for sore eyes. And then Ancient Evils doesn't shuffle. Ancient Evils won't shuffle in, neither will Evil Past. Because you shuffle the moment you run out of cards. So we have 1 Ancient Evils out right now. And then Carolyn draws. Another copy of Bedeviled, so she's double bedeviled. Fantastic. Problem is, I would have to discard it. I would have to basically pass 2 Will 3 tests to be able to do anything with my action abilities. So that will do it for the Mythos phase. Investigation phase time. Let's go down to... That brings an enemy from the discard pile out, doesn't it? Yeah, that's going to be a problem. Great. So let's move over to... Carolyn, and we'll move over to the map. We're here with Carolyn. Action 1, we are going to investigate, try to get that last clue off the location. We are up 4, right? Yeah, 4. +1 gets her the last clue and a resource to bring her up to 11. Spawn the topmost enemy in the discard pile. So we actually discard cards until the... cards from the top of the encounter deck until an enemy is discarded and spawn that enemy. Coven Initiate. So that makes friends with Carolyn. And then we discard the top 2 of the encounter deck. So we lose another Coven Initiate. I know I shuffled this. And another Coven Initiate. Okay, well, I'm not sorry to see that. Alright, then action... Actually, we will... Okay, we'll just go ahead and spend the clues now. So that in case anything goes sideways, we have the victory locked in. Which this will advance in turn 2. The Witch's Circle. Shroud of 3, 6 clues. Revelation. Put the Witch's Circle into play at the center of the play area, in front of none of the investigators. The lead investigator spawns the set-aside Annette Mason in the Witch's Circle. Forced. After the enemy phase begins, move each ready, unengaged witch enemy once towards the Witch's Circle, victory 2. Let's look at the 6 clues for that. Yeah, look at that. Spawn most of them clue side up. Alright, so we advance that. Action 2 will be to try to evade the Covenant Initiative. We're even trying to do that. Oh, I gotta get Annette Mason before I try to evade this. Oh, I forgot to deal with demonic piping. So the way we'll do that is we just shuffled the deck, so I'm actually going to shuffle all 3 of them, because they would have gone in already. So I'm just going to shuffle all 3 copies of demonic piping into the deck. Alright, so I'm handling that off camera. Okay, now, coming back to Carolyn. Action 2 will try to evade the Coven Initiate. We're at even, actually. And Agnes has... Ooh. Carolyn has nothing I can commit, so at even. -1 doesn't evade the Coven Initiate. That's unfortunate. Alright, so that will do it for Carolyn's turn. Agnes, I gotta go get Annette Mason. I still haven't engaged spawned her yet. The High Priestess. 4, 8, 4 because of 4 per investigator. Retaliate. Forced. After the enemy phase begins, discard the top 3 cards of the encounter deck. Spawn each witch enemy discarded by this effect at Annette Mason's location. If no witch enemies are discarded by this effect, ready her. Come, sisters, our time is now. Victory 2, health 1 and 1 on attack. So that's finally engaged at the Witch's Circle. Agnes's turn will take us down to her play area. I'm in a bind right now because I can't even kill this goat spawn without killing myself and actually just flat out ending the scenario. So, yeah. Agnes's action 1 is going to be to try to evade the goat spawn. We're up 1. Alright, so we get away from the goat, so we buy ourselves a turn with the goat spawn. Action 2 will be to draw a card. We draw. Hypnotic Gaze. Fast. Play when an enemy attacks an investigator location. Cancel the attack, then reveal a random token from the bag. If it has a bad symbol, deal the attacking enemy's damage to itself. And then action 3, I will draw another card. Voice of Ra. It's an event, will on commit, gain a resource, reveal 3 random tokens from the bag. For each bad symbol revealed, gain an additional 2 resources. That will do it for the investigation phase. enemy phase, Carolyn takes 1 horror from the Coven Initiate. And then we will re-ready everything. I will give the goat spawn to Agnes. Hopefully we can keep evading that and figure out what to do from there. But that will bring us into the upkeep phase. So let's move all the way back up top. We're back up top for the upkeep phase. Agnes gains a resource, goes up to 5. Carolyn will gain another resource, go up to 12. Carolyn will draw. Drawing the sign. Revelation, put it into play in your threat area. Your maximum hand size is reduced by 5 while checking your hand size during the upkeep phase. 2 actions, discard drawing the sign. Well, it's a handy-dandy thing we haven't had our hand ripped apart several times in this scenario. Agnes will draw. Drawn to the flame, draw the top card of the encounter deck, then discover 2 clues at your location. Right. That's not really going to be helpful right now either. Alright, it's time for the Mythos phase. Doom goes on the agenda. Actually, at the end of the round, place 1 Doom on this agenda for each witch enemy in circle and witch's circle. So Annette is a witch, so we'll put 1 Doom up for that. Now into Mythos phase, we'll put 2 Doom up, so we'll go up to 4. Agnes will draw. Diabolic Voices. Test Will 3. For each point you fail by, discard 1 random card from your hand. For each card you can't discard, take 1 or 1. I don't think we have any copies. Nope, we don't have any copies in there because we just shuffled. And I can't even play Ward of Protection because I would just get her defeated by Sandy. So, fortunately we are up 2. Alright, a -1 holds that at bay. Carolyn draws. Dissonant Voices. Can't play assets or events. Fantastic. We are in a pickle here, folks. So, our first investigator will be Agnes, and we'll move down to her play area. Alright, time to evade. So that'll be action 1 for Agnes. We'll try to evade and we'll commit Ward of Protection to bring her up 2. And get Tentacle touched. Fantastic. Action 2 will run the evade back up 1. Yeah, up 1. A 0 gets us away from the goat spawn. And then action 3 will take us over to the map. Action 3, Agnes will move up to the witch's circle and make friends with Annette. So we'll bring Annette over to Agnes's threat area. Then we'll stay right here because Carolyn is hopefully going to be joining Agnes up in the witch's circle. That's going to depend on if it takes her, how many actions it takes her to evade the Coven Initiate. So action 1, we'll try. Unfortunately, Carolyn is even. Although an even is enough to get away from the Coven Initiate. Action 2, Carolyn will move up to the witch's circle. And for action 3, she will pay 2 actually, no, we can't do that because we don't have a clue anymore. And I can't play events anyway. Never mind. So I think action 3 will be just to start working on the investigation. So we're up 2. Elder Sign is +1. You may heal a horror from an investigator or ally asset at your location. So we have to heal the horror off rational thought. But we discover a clue and get a resource out of that. So that brings her up to 12. Actually, I'm going to trade in... So she's at 12. I'm going to trade in some of these singles for a 10 resource marker for Carolyn. I have a feeling I'm going to need resource dumps with Carolyn pretty soon. But I'm getting ahead of myself on that. That will do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, Agnes would take 1 and 1 from Annette. But we are going to pay 3 resources to play Hypnotic Gaze. Fast play when an enemy attacks an investigator at your location. Cancel the attack, then reveal a random token from the bag. It's got a bad symbol, deal the attacking enemy's damage to itself. So we're going to... So yeah. So we'll go ahead and reveal the symbol. This is one time I hope I get a bad symbol. And of course I don't get a bad symbol. But at least Annette doesn't take the attack. At least we don't take the attack. So everything will wake up. Unfortunately, I have to leave Annette with Agnes. But hopefully that won't cause too many problems. Dissonant Voices goes away. Well, technically it would go away at the end of the round, but we're at upkeep phase, which basically amounts to the same thing. So let's move back up top for the upkeep phase. We're back up top for the upkeep phase. Carolyn will gain another resource, go up to 13. Agnes will go up to 3, considerably less. Carolyn will draw. Another Solemn Vow. Unfortunately, we do have drawing the sign active, so our hand size right now is 3 cards. So I will discard a logical... no, I'm actually going to discard a Solemn Vow. Then Agnes draws. The Tower 16. So I can't commit skill cards to tests. Can't commit cards to skill tests while the Tower 16 is in my hand. And if it's in my opening hand, which that part isn't relevant, because this isn't the start of the game. Alright, so Doom on the agenda. We have to put 1 up. Right, the Covenant Initiate was exhausted at the time, so we have to put 1 up for Annette, which means we're up to 6. Agnes draws. Rotting Remains. Test Will 3. For each point you fail by, take a horror. Unfortunately, I'm up 2. Actually, I will give her Solemn Vow to put her up 4. +1 keeps her clear of that. Then Carolyn draws. Demonic Piping, Surge. Revelation. If Piper of Azathoth is in play, deal 1 horror to each investigator at its location and its connecting location. Otherwise, put Demonic Piping into play next to the agenda deck. If there are 3 copies of Demonic Piping in play, discard them and spawn the Piper of Azathoth engaged with its prey from any out-of-play area. So that goes next to the agenda deck. And then Carolyn draws from Surge. Another Rotting Remains. Test Will 3. For each point you fail by, take a horror. So I will commit... Now I'll commit the Logical Reasoning to go up 2. And Agnes can't commit. So up 2. -3. That's actually not that bad. So we were up 2. -3 brings us down to down 1. So we deal a horror, which we'll put on Milan. Right there. So there's the horror going on Milan. Now I have something of a plan here. The question is, are we going to be able to get 5 clues off that location this round? I'm sure going to try. So we're going to move over to the map, and I think for this plan to work, I need Carolyn to go first. So she's going to take it away. Alright, we're over here with Carolyn. Action 1, she's going to investigate up 2, and I'm going to commit her fingerprint kit to bring her up 3. Rune, as we saw earlier, is -1. If you fail after this test resolves, draw the bottommost treachery in the encounter discard pile. Fortunately, we didn't fail. That gives her another resource as well, bringing her up to 14, and gives us a clue. Action 2, we'll run that back. We're still up 2. Tentacle touch, not what I wanted to see. Then action 3, Carolyn will engage Annette off of Agnes. So that will do it for Carolyn. Agnes we're going to stay right here with. For action 1, she's going to draw a card. She draws Spectral Razor. Fight, add your will value to your skill value for this attack. Immediately before this attack, you may engage the attacked enemy. This attack deals +1 damage, +2 instead if the enemy is non-elite. Unfortunately, Annette is elite. So, yeah. Action 2 will be to draw another card. This time we draw another Arcane Initiate, which I'm not quite sorry to see. And then action 3... I think we'll go ahead for 1 resource and play that Arcane Initiate. Put a Doom up. Oh. Yeah, well, this is bad. So Doom on the Arcane Initiate for Agnes' 3rd action. Then we have an open player window before we move into the enemy phase, which I'll use to exhaust the Arcane Initiate. 3 spells. That's actually 3 cards, and I'm looking for a spell. I know what spell I'm after, too. At least I think I do. Alright, first spell up. Our first card up is Ace of Rods. This is one of her story assets. Card 2. Eldritch Inspiration, which I don't particularly want to see here. And card 3. Clairvoyance. I have to take Clairvoyance because that's, well... I'm going to take Clairvoyance here, even though it's not my only choice. So, that's basically another Investigate spell. Alright. Now, that handles that. So now we're into the enemy phase. I'm not going to reset those yet. So at the start of the enemy phase, each investigator moves. So the Coven Initiate I will give to Agnes. I'll give the Goat Spawn, I'll give that to Agnes as well, I guess. Even though this plan is probably going to blow up in my face. But I have to try. So Carolyn takes 1 and 1 from a net, which Milan will actually eat because he had a sanity on him. Then the Coven Initiate will do 1 damage to the Arcane Initiate, and then the Goat Spawn will finish it off. So it didn't get us much value, but hopefully it got us enough. But anyway, with that, we will reset everything and move into the upkeep phase. Unfortunately, we are in a really bad way. So Carolyn will gain 1 resource, go to 15. Agnes will gain 1, go back up to 3. Carolyn will draw. Hawkeye folding camera, you're a little late to the party there, buddy. Then Agnes will draw. Another copy of Shriveling, also a little late to the party. End of the round, we put 2 Doom up for the 2 witches at the Witch's Circle. Then Mythos phase, we put another Doom up, go up to 9 Doom. Agnes draws. Centuries of Secrets, test Will 5. Oh boy. For each point you fail by, discard the top card of the encounter deck. If we nail a curse, deal 1 direct damage to your investigator and to each of your ally assets. Perhaps these mysteries are better left unknown. Unfortunately, we are even and we can't commit. Actually, Carolyn can commit the Hawkeye folding camera to get her up 1. +1 clears her of that. And then Carolyn draws. Ow. Foot cramp. Racked. So now, just what we needed. Now we're -1 to your skills during the first test you perform each round. As an action, test Will 3. If you succeed, discard Racked. If there's an exhausted witch enemy at your location, this test is automatically successful. Yeah, I'm thinking this is probably about a wrap at this point, but we are going to try to play it out. So, yuck. Is there a way we can get out of this? Maybe. We'll have to try. Let's see, how do we try to get out of this? I think the way we get out of this is I think Agnes has to go first, and we will move down to her play area. We're over here with Agnes. Action 1. Action 1, we're going to spend 2 resources to Spectral Razor the Coven Initiate. So we're at 7 to 2, we're up 5. Skull is -1 for each point you fail by discard the top card of the encounter deck. So that's gone. Action 2. We're going to try to evade the goat spawn. Unfortunately, we have to do it +1. Rune is -1, thankfully. So that worked. Then action 3 will be... didn't really have an action 3 in mind right now. Action 3, I guess we'll get drawn to the flame and try to gamble here, but I don't like our odds. Evil Past, which goes into play in our threat area, but we get 2 clues out of it. I think we're going to come up short. We're going to come up short here. Carolyn... Yeah, Carolyn is going to... Yikes, she's down 3 trying to do anything? Ick. Alright, you know what? I think the scenario is just over at this point. So, I really needed to get a spell, something that would let me get clues last turn. So, yeah. So, unfortunately, we are a turn late. So, Carolyn will attempt to have a laugh here. She'll try to make a test, but she's going to take the attack of opportunity first. We'll get her defeated by Sanity. So that will move Annette over to Agnes before the enemy phase happens. So the enemy phase, Agnes also takes the attack. She will get defeated by damage. So Carolyn will take a mental trauma, and Agnes will take a physical trauma. Agnes takes a physical, Carolyn takes a mental. Just want to make sure I had that straight. So with the end of the scenario, let's move back up top to wrap this video up. We're back up top, so let's wrap this scenario up with Resolution 4.
Resolution 4. You collapse to the ground in exhaustion, your head swimming with otherworldly voices and the high-pitched piping of 100 discordant flutes. The sensation fades as the circle's leader approaches, her powerful form looming over you. We cannot allow the spell to fail. Take them to the edge of the woods and make sure we are not interrupted, she commands several of the other hooded women. They grab you by the arms and hoist you up, dragging you away from the central clearing. You try to resist, but your limbs are numb and sluggish, and the cacophony of sound and sensations assaulting your mind has turned your thoughts to sludge. Eventually, after what feels like hours, you are hurled to the ground, and weariness claims your consciousness. When you next awaken, it is by the side of Hangman's Brook, where a small child is shaking you vigorously by the shoulders. Get back here, don't touch them, the child's mother calls to the boy, and he recoils from you. Considering the state you're in, you wouldn't be surprised if she thought you some kind of rummy. You brush some of the caked dirt off of your coat and rise begrudgingly to your feet, wandering towards Uptown. In your campaign log, record the witch's spell was cast.
Alright, so I will make a note of that. The witch's spell was cast. Alright, come on. There we go.
Campaign log under Mementos Discovered. Record mesmerizing flute. Each investigator earns 1 bonus experience as he or she gains insight into Arkham's mysterious past. Each investigator earns experience equal to the Victory X value of each card in the Victory display.
Alright, so we didn't actually get to put any... But we did clear out the 4 Witch-Haunted Woods locations, so that gives us 4 plus 1, that'll give us 5 experience. So 5 and 5. Alright, that was a decent experience result if we got rocked right away. Anyway, that will do it for this week's scenario. Next week, we'll continue with the second scenario, At Death's Doorstep. And I'll have an upgrade video in the middle of the week. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone, and have a happy 4th if you're celebrating in the United States. So once again, take care everyone.